everyone, and welcome back to a great new episode of the Self Betterment Project. My name is Zad, and I will be your host today, tomorrow, and every other episode of the Self Betterment Project. And you can find this project anywhere you listen to your audio, podcast, whatever. If you listen to my podcast long enough, eventually you'll start hearing me in your head while you sleep. My voice never leaves you alone. But besides that though, welcome back, and I hope you guys are having a great week. I hope you've had a great week. And today I want to talk a little bit more about what it takes for growth, and something I've been really going through this week and really realizing is that you have to give it your all, and you have to be okay with whatever sacrifice, whatever cost that comes your way when it comes to growing. When you want something, you have to go get it. Coming up right now on the Self Betterment Project, episode 17. Hello, welcome. An interesting thing about podcasting is that sometimes you record podcasts with the mic facing away from you, then you wonder why your mic is not picking up audio as well as you've hoped. But we live, we learn. I should just stop podcasting altogether, to be honest. How long have I been podcasting or making YouTube videos? I can't even flip a mic properly. But, we're here, and I hope you were here too, mentally, emotionally. Today is a nice, beautiful Monday, and I hope you guys are all killing it and crushing it in your life. Today, I want to just completely break open the box and really reiterate this message on costs versus rewards. And I have been going through this a lot because there has been a lot of times in my life where I wanted something and it took me a long time to finally get to a point where I'm like, if this is what I want, I'm going to pay the price for it. There's a difference between knowing the prices to pay for certain things versus actually feeling it. And eventually you'll come to a point in your life when you give it your all. When you want something, you have to understand, you gotta do everything and anything that is required to grow that skill or get that job or get that skill, whatever you're chasing, whatever your goal is. You need to be insane, and you always gotta be on it. So many people just keep wanting things, but it's just that they just don't want to give the cost. And you have to shift your mind. You have to start living in a way where instead of thinking, how can I get the most without giving too much? Instead, you have to start thinking, when it comes to your ambitions, when it comes to things that you want, you have to wonder, how can I give everything and anything? Is something at any point in time helping me grow towards my goal, or is it keeping me away? Is staying in bed for an extra 5 minutes keeping me away from my goal? You have to cut out the fat. You have to cut out all the unnecessary BS between you and getting that action done. And eventually that will grow you into a life that you want. And for so long, it's so many people know this when people talk about it. But it's just that nobody really knows how to feel through it, how to actually do it. So I actually came across a very, very, very amazing TED Talk on YouTube, as I was surfing around. I will post the title or the URL somewhere, but long story short, that TED Talk talks about this man who was able to just go from being absolute crap to being the absolute amazing thing he could ever be. And it's actually so attainable. That's what blew me away. It's actually immensely attainable. How one person can just go from, I'm not feeling like I want to do something, to just I'm doing everything. He talks about how everything is broken down into little pieces, which is true. It's $100 is made up of just $1 bills, right? It's 100 $1 bills, and 100% of anything is just made of 100 of 1%, right? you have 1%, you have another percent, you have another percent, and you just keep stacking your percentage. You just keep stacking $1, $1. Eventually, you'll get to 100% or $100. That's something we already know. That's something everybody's already known. What this guy really reiterated the message, and what he really explained, it completely blew me away. So what I inferred from it was really, really amazing, is that you don't really need to do everything. You don't really need to even think about the result. You don't even really need to think about the expectation. You don't even really need to think about that $100 you want or getting to 100% or whatever. All you need to do, it's very simple. This is the only thing you have to do in order to succeed in anything. And this is decision making. You have to decide, and you have to be a viable participant. You have to be an active participant in everyday decision making. So what does this mean? This means, for example, say you want to wake up and you have a to-do list and you want to get something done. You have a task. Are you going to actually wake up and be like, oh, I have to get this task done. I have to get these certain things done today. Or I have to hit this definite landmark in my projects today. No. All you have to do is make the active decision of just getting into doing work. It doesn't even mean that you're going to get work done. It's not saying, hey, I'm going to sit down and finish this first segment of my essay. It's not even saying I'm going to sit down and get this halfway through. That's too much. You see, the decision there is that you're sitting down to get something done. There's an expectation. There's a deadline of sorts. There's a goal. What I am trying to iterate here is that make decisions without the goal. Make decisions without the expectation. Make decisions without saying, I'm going to get something done. All you have to do is just simply tell yourself and make the decision, I'm going to just do it for the sake of doing it. I'm just going to do it, period. I'm not going to do it to get this paragraph done. I'm not going to do it to get 50% weight done. And I know this sounds very counterintuitive because everywhere you hear, you always have to make a decision with a certain percentage in mind, with a certain goal in mind, with a certain task in mind. And yes, these things work. Absolutely. I'm not saying they don't. But I'm saying for somebody who's been struggling to be able to be active, somebody who's been stagnant in his life for a while, it's really hard for me to do something with a weight or a goal at the end. And ultimately, that really hampers my productivity. That really hampers my mood and my efficiency. You don't have to do it with the expectation. And the beauty of making decisions to do something without the expectation is that you can start doing it for doing it. Because the only thing that's left without the expectation, without saying, I'm going to do this to get to a certain level, to get to a certain place. What the beauty is that you can just do it for the sake of doing it. Think about this in the gym, for example. A lot of us go to the gym and we'll do it once. We come back from the gym once. And whether you like it or not, there's going to be a little voice in the back of your head saying, did I notice a change? Which is obviously completely irrational, right? But we still do it. What I've noticed is that if I went to the gym, just decided to go to the gym, I didn't go there to hit the gym or hit a quota. I didn't go there for an expectation. All I did was just make a decision, active decision, when my brain automatically made a decision for me to lay down and be lazy. Instead, I stepped in because I realized I was making a decision, because everything in life is a decision, whether you're making it or your brain is making it and you're not aware of it. So as I was laying there, I realized the decision to lay there was not a part of my decision. I wasn't consciously active in that decision making. So my body made that decision. So I was like, all right, fine. I'm just going to make the decision to just go to the gym and work out. The beauty of that is that I was always working in a rhythm of always doing something for a weighted goal or a target. But this time there was no target. So I just went to the gym and I just worked out just for the sake of working out. I was there making every rep count. That's it. You just have to make a decision. You don't have to make a decision to get somewhere. You don't have to make a decision to hit a target. So it allows you to come into focus. It allows you to come into focus with the work in front of you. Ultimately, every time spent working or every ounce of effort ultimately leads you to the goal. too often we look at the goal as a huge thing, and then that destabilizes us. So instead, narrowing down your focus without an expectation, all you have is the work. So you can easily focus. So the beauty of this is that you can just focus and you can just work, which is an amazing thing. I started trying this everywhere. Say I was laying down at home. I'm just gonna make the decision because I know my brain's been making a decision for me laying down and not doing much. I've just made the decision to do something actively productive for even 5 minutes. I never said to do it for multiple hours. That's a deadline. I never said do it for hours or do it for a certain time. When you make a decision without an expectation, it's insane how much weight is lifted off of your shoulders. It's insane how much space in your head you have left to just simply calm down and focus and just be involved in the work. So ultimately, what you will figure out is that as you just make decisions, actively just make a decision, I'm going to work, I'm going to study, I'm just going to do my thing. What happens is that you are always just faced with the 1% of the task at all given point of time. Because it's impossible to do 2% of the task without doing the 1% first. Does that make sense? Because it's impossible to get $100 without the first dollar. It's always incremental. You cannot have everything without the first few things. You can grow on things, but you can't have one thing without what makes it, right? You can't have $100 without the first dollar. That doesn't make any sense. Accumulatively, like if you think about counting $100, if I told you, hey, you have $100, count to $100, you start off with 1. You just can't say boom, $100. Because $100 is made up of $101 bills. You are always going to have that 1. It's like, think of it like staircases. You want to get to somewhere. You cannot get to the top without the first step. It's just impossible. You always have to hit that 1% every time. Only when you've done that 1%, guess what? You move on to the next percent of your 100%, whatever that may be. Maybe finishing an essay or going to the gym or what have you. You always have to hit that 1%, right? It's impossible to move on to the next part without doing the part before it. It's like saying, hey, if I told you go from here to the living room, for example, it is impossible for you to go from here to the living room without that first step. Imagine that first step being the 1%. It is impossible for you to get anywhere without that 1%. But guess what? When you hit that 1%, the next step you take is the next one more step forward. That's the other 1 more percent. So ultimately, together you're at 2%. But every moment of time, you're just doing 1% of work, right? That's what this decision making helps our brain to do. Because without expectation, the only thing you can do, the only thing in front of you is just 1%. Whether you're at 50% and you're trying to get to 100% or you're at 0% trying to get to 100% of finishing an essay, it doesn't matter. Because the next step is still another 1%. It doesn't matter if you have $45 or $68. The way to get to $100 is still collecting $1 more. And that's still just $1. It's breaking down everything into the most minimum position possible. Because you cannot do more than 1%. In order to go beyond the 1%, guess what? You have to do that 1%. Then you have to do the next one and the next one and the next one to get to whatever you want. So when you make decisions without expectations, you are so in the present moment that you can just do 1% of the work. You focus on the first letter, the first word, the first action, the first key press, the first rep, the first whatever it is. So when you don't have an expectation, you de-stress like crazy. There's no expectation for you to be like, I need to get everything done. There's no stress wondering, hey, I did a lot of this and I'm stressing and did I see a result? You don't have to come back from the gym and be like, oh man, did I see a result? It takes away all of that. And the only thing you are ever left with is the next percent in front of you. That's it. All you're left with is the next step in front of you. That's it. Just simply making decisions. Be an active decision maker. Don't make decisions with a goal. Not yet anyway. Just to get you moving, just to get things started, just to get the ball rolling, all you have to do is just say, I'm just going to do it. That's it. That's literally it. Make decisions. Now, obviously from there on, when you have mastered just making decisions, what happens is that you're not the most disciplined person. You're not the most well integrated, like focused. Maybe you procrastinate, right? We all do. I'm not the most disciplined person. If you told me to sit down right now and like have like self-discipline and focus to continuously work for 2 hours straight without any hesitation, it's just not possible. So I've accepted that. Accept that you can't perhaps do certain things that you set yourself out to do, right? You want to wake up and just grind out and just do all this work. Accept that maybe you won't be able to do that, and that's okay. The beauty of decision making here is that what it does is that all you have to do when you make a decision, you can just say, I'm just going to do it for now. And I'm going to do it for now. And I'm going to do it for now. And all of a sudden, every percent or every minute spent is spent through good focused work. And in 5 minutes, say you're not focused, that's fine. Just leave it. Come back to it. But make sure every decision you're making is something good and positive. You don't have to make a decision to do something for hours on end. Spend 5 minutes doing your work. It's 5 minutes just to do a math question, or 5 minutes just to do that one thing in the essay. You can't focus anymore, or you see yourself being distracted, fine. Just leave for a minute, go to the bathroom, go play some games, but make sure when you're done your break, make that decision. Be aware of your life. Every point of your life is made through a decision. You never just do anything out of the random. The human body is incapable of doing such things. You can make decisions you're not aware of, fine. But when you're aware, you just realize, hey, I've spent 5 minutes studying before, now I'm on my break, I feel good now, I'm just gonna go and work a little bit. I never said for how long. Could be a minute, could be 2 minutes. You're tired, maybe that's not gonna be a lot. If you're really self-focused and self-disciplined, maybe it can be for 2 hours. But what it does is that it takes away that time constraint. So what it makes is that it gives you the frequent ability to build a skill. 5 minutes of work, and after 5 minutes you just lose focus, fine. Just make the decision to take a break. Then you come back to it 5 minutes later. So instead of thinking about the future, what we're doing here is cutting off the future entirely. Obviously, have one plan about the future, and that's it. Don't worry about it 24/7. That's destructive. But at the same time, don't never have a plan for the future. So once you have a plan for your future, all you have to do is just work. That's it. And the best way to do that and cut out all the future stresses is just make a decision to do it. Period. And now all of a sudden, since you're actively making decisions throughout your day without expectation, so it doesn't feel hard, it doesn't feel rough, it doesn't feel like you're not going to get anything done. But so now without the stress, without the expectation, you feel great just doing the work because you're just there to do the work. You're there for sake of the work, right? Now you can make this a frequent thing. You study for 5 minutes, then study for 5 minutes later, study for 5 minutes later, just 5 minutes later. It's not hard. And all of a sudden, now you've realized that throughout your day, you could be studying for like 3-4 hours a day. That's immense. That's insane. Without even realizing the pressure or the hardship of it, you just glide right through being able to work on things increment at a time, that 1% at a time. You don't need to worry about where you are or what you're doing. You don't need to worry about what percent you're on. Just do that percent. Do that percent, and then frequently later on, because it wasn't hard anyway, just do it again. Because it's not with that, like it doesn't have pressure. It doesn't have like, oh, did I get this done? Or, oh, am I not getting this? None of that matters because your brain just decompresses. Because when you're made a decision without an expectation, your brain just doesn't feel like, oh, am I doing this enough or am I stressed? None of that matters. Do it, then do it again, then do it again. And the easier this becomes, over time, you will build your self-discipline. Over time, you will build focus. So each session spent working will now increase because you just can hold focus for that long. So instead of spending 5 minutes throughout the day and you make decisions, now you can spend 10 hours. Now you can spend so instead of spending like 5 minutes and then 5 minutes, now you can spend like 10 minutes per se. The point of this is that it takes away the stress. It takes away the expectation, like, am I getting something done? It takes away the unnecessary amount of brain power it requires to think about the future at all points of life. That's unnecessary. It's tiring. And it gives you anxiety. Instead of thinking you need to make $1 million, instead of thinking you need to make $100, just think of making $1. Because that's the most core little piece you could do. Instead of thinking about, I'm going to get to 100%, Just think about doing that 1%. Just that 1%. Because without that next step, it doesn't matter. You can't go anywhere. That step is crucial. Every step you make is 1% of the entire goal, right? Eventually, you take a step, focus on the steps. And the best way to do that is forget about where you're going, forget about all of that. You spend a little amount of time thinking about the future and then just stop thinking about the future. Thinking about the future 24/7 is not a good thing. Thinking about the past 24/7 is not a good thing. Saying, I'm going to do everything for 3 hours straight. I'm going to grind out this essay for 8 hours straight because I can do it. It's not a good thing. And most likely you're going to fail. Be okay with that. Be okay with saying, I'm not a machine like that. That's fine. So how do you actually get work done? Easy. Just make the decision to just work without any expectation. Don't say, I'm going to work for the next 5 minutes. No. You've already messed up. Just say, I'm going to work, period. Make that decision. Because every point in life is a simple decision, whether you've actively made that decision or your brain has done that decision for you. Just make a decision. And then when you've rested up, make another decision. When you get tired, make a decision to rest. And then when you're kind of rested, you're like, okay, I'm going to make a decision to study again because now you can. So now all of a sudden you're starting to increment those 1% frequently. And the more frequently you do something, the faster and better you're going to get at it. So stop worrying about the future. Stop worrying about the expectations. Then the real way to just be in the present moment, to just focus on the work and be here working, is so simple. It was so simple. I'm telling you, I felt the change immediately. All you have to do is just make an active decision in your life. That's it. No expectation, no goals. Just make the decision. It's that simple. You have the power to do it. You don't have to be Superman. You are not Superman. And that's okay. When you make a decision without expectation, life just completely changes around you. It's insane. You start doing the work for the work. And that's truly where growth is. Because if you're doing the work thinking about something else, you're not really at the work. It doesn't matter. You're most likely going to fail or you're not doing your best effort. So decompress and just make a decision. That's all you need to do. I'm telling you, it's the most craziest thing I've done and I've immediately noticed a change. Especially for someone like me, because I'm always thinking about the future. I'm always thinking about the past. That's just how my brain works. Especially me as an overthinker, right? A lot of people overthink. And it's insane how you can just cut away all of that just by a simple decision. I'm just gonna make one decision. That's it. That's literally it. And now I went to the gym finally after months or weeks of like not going in and being tired and always making excuses because I'd be like, oh, I have to go to the gym and do everything or like at least do 30 minutes or blah, blah. None of that mattered. I just went to the gym and I just did each rep. I just pushed weight and I was like, okay, so the next percent is, guess what? The next rep. So I'm just going to do that next rep. Guess what? Now the next percent is another rep. So I'm just going to do that until I get tired. I get tired. I'm going to stop. Can I go on more? Not yet. I'm going to rest. Guess what? Now I made a decision to rest. Now I made a decision after resting. Like, okay, I'm going to do another rep, right? And you just keep going. And it's amazing because now you're just there for the work. So now the quality of work changes. Each percent is different because now you're really focused. Each rep is different because if you just bang out reps, that's not really effective. But if you actually just do that rep and make that one rep as perfect as you can, because that's the only thing that exists, then that rep is a lot more valuable than any other reps you do. One push-up is different than a one concentrated, focused push-up, right? You can't just keep doing it. And the same thing applies for anything else. Studying too. You study for 5 minutes versus somebody who actually focused and studied for 5 minutes is a whole different thing, right? Instead of being ill-focused, instead of stressing about the future, just make one decision without expectation and watch just how amazing your life becomes. It's insane. So if you haven't tried it, I really hope you do. And let me know about the results. Let me know about how that changed your life in the first day or two. You keep doing it and you're going to see results. There's just no other way around it. Focus on the steps. That's all you need to do. And that's all I wanted to say. It was so mind-blowing. It's just insanely amazing. And I wanted to share that with you guys on this podcast today. So go out there and just make a decision. every time of your life, don't worry about getting things done or what you didn't do or what the goal is. Forget about the destination. Forget about the goal. If you don't feel good, just make sure you look at yourself and say, was I an active participant of making this decision? If not, then I'm going to make a decision. You're being lazy. You want to get things done. Don't just be like, oh, I'm going to get things done. Don't say that. I'm just going to make a decision to do something, period. Then you do it. It's that one step. It's that simple. Anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. And if you do, that's amazing. I just hope you found some sort of value out of my podcast, out of my voice. If you did, then that's just amazing. If you think your friends need to hear me talk, then obviously share the podcast. And the more listeners, the better. And I'm trying to grow the podcast, see how many lives I can impact one podcast at a time. That's it for this week. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys have a banging week this coming couple days. I hope you guys have amazing weeks forever, to be honest, because all you have to do is just make a decision. At the end of the day, this decision-making hack is just going to make you better at your own self-betterment project. Take care, stay safe. And with that said, I'll see you guys in the next one. Coming out every Monday at 7 p.m. Let your friends know.